going to be a nice weekend. Jimmy Saunders as well. We're going to catch up with Jimmy. His first ever self-published book, an account of his early years growing up in Castlecomer. His dad, Tom, was a miner. He left for England and never returned. And we had a chat about this in the newsroom this morning. It's heartbreaking, but very, very common many years ago that a dad might up and leave a mammy to look after all the little ones at home and everything that went with that. And I know it wasn't just dads, mums did it as well, but Jimmy will tell us his story a little bit later on. And enjoy. We hope you have a fabulous weekend, folks. Jimmy Saunders is coming up very shortly. We told you about his story earlier on, but he's penned his first self-published book on his early years in Comer. His dad was a miner. He left for England with the promise of sending money home and looking after the family, but he never returned. He left Jimmy's mum, Annie, alone to raise 8 children. She's now 92. She loves the book. There's some really nice stories in there and anecdotes and reminiscing. And I think some of it you'll really identify with, such as when first telephone arrived at the house. We're going to talk to Jimmy coming up after these. Right, let's move on and let's talk to Jimmy Saunders. I'm looking forward to this because, Jimmy, I've had a sneak peek at some of your self-published account of your early years growing up. I think a lot of local people are going to identify with parts of your story. How are you?
I'm very well, Eimear, and thank you very much for having me on this morning. Yes, you are absolutely right. I think that everybody from all ages will identify with the book.
A lot of our listeners would have grown up and had very little, Jimmy. It wasn't unusual back in the day to grow up in a house with 10 children or 8 or 9 children, but much more difficult if it was a one-parent family or if another parent had died or had left for whatever reason.
Well, I mean, the weird part about it is I started considering about writing in my teens after I saw the Waltons and Laura Ingalls Wilder, Little House on the Prairie, and I knew there was a story to write. Now, we were very lucky as children to break away from the mining years. Give James Walsh a nice plug there because of his book In the Shadow of the Mines. Now, I had my 3 uncles and my grandfather that spent over 30 to 35 years in the mines, and my father as well. He was quite claustrophobic, so he spent a short time in the mines. Now, we were lucky to come out of that era and to be protected, and I think when Mum decided, right, these are my last 2 little babies, I've a set of twins, I don't want them to see what the rest of the kids have seen, which was a very harsh poverty line in Castlecomer at the time. And at the time I was born in 1967 with my twin sister Philomena, we actually came out of the era, but the reminder was always there of the poverty. So we were extremely lucky with Mum that she protected us from all of that.
Okay, and tell me about what happened with your dad, and what age were you, Jimmy, when all of these events occurred?
Well, yeah, it's quite extraordinary to sit down and listen to Mum to talk about all of these things for years. And with my dad, he wanted to emigrate over to England but decided not to come back, and so I really was brought up without my father, and we had Mum taking care of all of us at the time.
Did you remember him at all, Jimmy?
Not at all, Eimear, not at all. And, you know, it's not a harsh thing for me because of the love and the power of the love of our family, and especially my mum. That actually took away any reminders of anything about having a father. It was the love that we grew up in. I was looked after not only by my mum, but my sister, older sister Jean, and my brother Noel and Michael. And these kids left school at the age of 14 and emigrated at the age of 16 to bring back money, to send over money to Mum to actually help bring us up, which I'm extremely grateful for.
Okay. And Jimmy, that it must have been very tough on all the family, especially your mother. And did she ever talk about your dad, or did she ever explain to you what had happened, or was it something that just wasn't discussed?
She never stopped loving my father. She never. There was two powerful entities in my mum's life: the love for my father, and the love for God. And her ability to be able to still to this very day to take on religion and to have such power with religion. She always told us
She had faith.
Yes, absolutely have faith. I lost my faith for some time, but I really got it back because she's alive today. She's 91 today. She was born in 1929, and she has seen between World War II and so on, all the things that happened through that. But I mean, I wouldn't be here today as a very happy guy from Kilkenny and Castlecomer if it wasn't for the love of my family and my mum. And that's what the book is all about. It's going to bring a lot of people together. And during COVID, the unfortunate situation we're in, when people start reading the book, I hope it's going to bring families very, very much closer together because it's that kind of book, and it is in relation to everybody that has survived from my era in 1967, and plus the parents of anybody before my time, along with obviously my mum.
Okay. Now, there were some little stories that you'll touch on in the book. We don't want to give it all away, but there was a lovely one about the telephone. You remember getting your first telephone and just the fascination in the house about that, and it had a big shiny handle, and it was just overwhelming that people were able to ring and you had that contact with people. And your mum would get very emotional when she'd get to talk to a family member on the phone.
Absolutely, Eimear. I mean, when my brothers were sending over money, one of the little things that Mum would put in her little pot was to get the telephone to actually be able to speak to them. And I remember that phone. I still remember the phone number, and it was just it was very magical. We were one of the first people in Castlecomer ever to have a telephone, and as the book will explain as well, being on just coming out of a poverty line, to have a telephone was extremely amazing.
So your mum was resourceful. She was putting the pennies away all the time.
Oh yes, absolutely. She was like an accountant. But it was very sad as well, for every time that the phone rang, and it was one of my brothers in England who eventually went to Australia. And you know, as I said in the book, I used to ask Mum why every time she got off the phone she had tears in her eyes, and I was about 7 at that time, and she just told me, she said, I miss the boys so much, and I don't want to ever lose you. And I think it was around that age I started to make her a cup of tea as the phone rang, and I'd have a little cup of tea waiting for her and a little slice of bread so we could be with her, because we knew she was going to be emotional from those telephone calls. And it was just a wonderful time for us children. We were so protected from anything that was a sad situation. Mum would actually go into the bathroom, just wipe her eyes with a towel, and then come out and put her arms around us and things like that.
She sounds like an incredible woman, and it's amazing that you still have her with you.
Oh, absolutely.
She's a great age. If people want to read the book or want to buy the book, Jimmy, where can they find it, and when will it be published?
Well, can I just give one more story, Eimear?
You can. I have a minute left, yeah.
Yeah, one of the wonderful stories was she was a dressmaker, and everybody in Castlecomer will remember she was a dressmaker, and she made all her clothes, and it was a fantastic thing for her to be able to do.
Great skill to have, yeah.
Yeah. But if anybody wants to find the book is going to be on a new website that's coming out in 2 weeks' time, and it's called ames-saunders-fromtheoutsidein.eu, and it will be in next month in Kindle and Amazon and every place else. And
you'll share the link with us maybe when it's ready to go.
Absolutely, Eimear. Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited because I think everybody's going to love it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, and best wishes to your mum, Jimmy. We hope that all is well, and to the rest of the family.
Oh, thank you so much, Eimear. I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Local man there telling us about his story, and I thought that many of you would identify with it. And we'll give you details. We'll share details when it's ready to download, and that you can do so from the website that Jimmy mentioned.